If you're a nonprofit, you are a nonprofit. That's a tax designation. You still have to run your nonprofit like a business. Donors are consumers at the end of the day. They're investors in your organization. You have quite the resume in the business background and in technology with MySpace and AOL and Yahoo, if you don't mind me just naming off a few. And now you're in the nonprofit space.
I will tell you, my experience was there were plenty of nonprofits out there that see technology as a cost center, and I knew that that wasn't right for me. I draw a lot on my experiences from the for-profit world. You know, a conversion rate funnel is a conversion rate funnel, and you're going to try to optimize that conversion rate funnel.
You have to have a CRM, okay? Right? Like, we really need it.
You do, 100%.
Yeah.
It feels like this large wall you're going to cross. You have to be intentional, but it's easier than you think.
Christa Stelzmuller, thanks so much for taking the time, and Chief Technology Officer for Charity Water. Now, when I saw that, A, I know who Charity Water is, so that's kind of cool.
Great.
B, as long as I have my data right, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. Apparently, he's done some board work with Charity Water, and that's where I originally heard about the organization and what have you. So I was kind of fanboying out a little bit. It's great to meet you too, though.
Oh, it's so nice meeting you. I'm excited to be here.
The name says it, all, of course, Charity Water and what have you. And I definitely want to get into your role and what you're doing, but, tell the audience, what Charity Water is doing, and if they don't know or haven't heard of you all, and the reach that you have, because I know y'all are a pretty big multinational charity. So
we are. Our mission is to bring clean and safe water to the communities who need it. And we've been focused on this I think we just hit our 18th birthday for our nonprofit, which is a very exciting moment for us. And so it's been a long effort founded by Scott Harrison early on. And he's been leading Charity Water through all of these years. When we started, there were over 1 billion people in the world who did not have access to clean and safe water. And today we're at about a little over 700 million, about 703 million people who still need access to clean and safe water. So we believe this is a really solvable problem, and we're just going to stay focused on it until the problem is actually solved.
I get you. Well, it sounds like you already are. Yeah, you took a big chunk out of there with the math I was able to deduce.
Yeah, we were a part of it. Certainly not the only people working on this, but definitely like to feel like we've done our part.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of things stand out to me. One is I was going to ask you if you could state your mission's message in 10 words or less, and you did it without me even asking. So we're constantly talking to nonprofits. It's like, okay, we're a 501c3. We help people, this and that. And we're like, we know.
Oh, no.
We know. So we're like, less is more. Not your mission statement, but your mission's message. So you were able to do that, and it's a lovely mission. Another thing that stands out to me, I'm sure you probably heard this before, it's like how much we take for granted, especially in our country. My gut tells me you're in California, like I am.
I'm in California personally.
Yeah. And how we take for granted clean drinking water daily, and how it's just such a, it's such an issue in other parts of the world. Where are you all focused on? I know you probably work all over in multiple continents, right? But
we do, but our focus is primarily in countries in Africa and in countries in Asia and Southeast Asia. And so we're focused on those countries as well, where we can ensure sustainability. Sustainability is a big pillar of ours. We don't want to just build new water points. We want to make sure that they are accessible. And so we set a 10-year minimum threshold goal for ourselves to keep things running. And certainly they can keep running for longer than that, ideally, right? But we want to make sure that when anyone is donating to us, that they know that they are helping to fund not just a water point that might break a year from now, but a water point that we intend to keep running and that we intend to monitor and ensure has a high percentage of functionality throughout the years.
Yeah, you want to make sure you dig the well, but that it works in perpetuity. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is it that simple sometimes, right? It's like we're in a fine water. Here we go. Let's make it accessible to everybody for long term. I think that's awesome. I didn't think about that. The sustainability side. I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. That's awesome. Yeah. Y'all have been in business for over a decade. We have an anniversary coming up. Is that right?
Yes. It was, I think it's this week, actually. And I think it's our 18th year. Yes.
Tell me what's going on there. Anything special going on there? I know it's a big deal. We've been in business for 8 years, so 18 years is awesome. Good for you.
18 years is awesome. I mean, I think we just, if we're probably the hardest on ourselves. We think of this as like, 18 years in, we would have hoped to have made more progress by now. And so we're constantly raising the bar on ourselves and saying, okay, this is what we did over the last 18 years. Now let's double that over the next 5 years. Like, let's try to get even more. As we grow and as we scale, we want to be like increasing the trajectory of folks that we can be bringing clean water to over time. So I think it's all about, one, believing that that access to clean water could have been solved by now, and realizing that it's probably a longer road than originally imagined, but then making sure that every year you're trying to make more progress than the year before so that we keep accelerating and compounding our efforts together.
I love it.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Celebrating what you've done, I think, is a fantastic thing. We're constantly talking to nonprofits, big and small, charities, big and small. Definitely share what you've done, what you're doing right now. But then when it comes to inviting folks to give for what you're looking to do and make it about the impact, lay it out there and make it quantifiable. Y'all are such a big charity. How do you, give us a couple examples of how you do that to really quantify? It's like, this is where your investors, donors are so interested in knowing where the dollars are going, what kind of impact. It's like, how do you all, because I'm assuming y'all are, because you're so large, so adept, so talented, such a talented group, and that have, brought clean drinking water to hundreds of millions of people worldwide. How do you quantify that? Do you really break it down just to really, really simple, quantifiable numbers and break it down so folks can understand and give? And talk to me about that a little bit. Talk to the audience. Yeah.
I think one of the things that Charity Water was founded on originally so I think keeping it simple for donors is that's really the key at the end of the day, is how do we keep it really simple? And so Charity Water was originally founded on a model that was intended to try to keep it very, very simple for donors to understand what kind of impact they were going to have. So we have something that's called the 100% model. And what that really implies is that we separate donors into two groups: a small group of private donors that fund all of our operations. So all of the things that people don't typically love to fund, like they like to call your overhead, but are so necessary to the successful functioning
you're still running a business. Yeah.
That's right. And you're trying to make an impact, right? And so we have a small group of private donors who fund all of our operations. And we fundraise within that group specifically for that very specific purpose. So we don't have to muddy the waters around messaging and they know exactly what type of impact they're going to have. And then that leaves us to allow every other donor, which we call our public donors, that they can feel confident that 100% of their donation is going to go to a water project. And that is it's a simple, clean messaging that really works overall, that helps. I think it helps break through some of the complexity where folks are always wondering, well, how much of an impact am I actually going to make, et cetera. It's like, even at its very core, your dollars are going to go to a water project and you're going to have that very specific impact. Or if you've decided to be a member of our well, that you're going to be funding our fundraising efforts and salaries and things of that nature, and all the things that make it that are necessary to run, as you say, a business every single day. And that, I think that helps tremendously in terms of speaking to donors and actually making sure that you have clarity of message and you can guarantee impact of a specific kind. And then we can get deeper from there, right? Like, then you start getting into what the overall individual's impact may have been, especially in the world of water. So for a long time, we've allowed donors to sponsor water projects, and we're extending our transparency efforts around every donation, which you can imagine is a real challenge to scale effectively. But it's really important to us to be able to help, to be able to communicate to folks where their dollars are going and what kind of impact, and really draw the connection between your dollar and a community, and making sure even if you're making a $20 donation, we value your $20 donation as much as we value every other donation. And we want to be able to share with you how that $20, like what community that $20 impacted, so that you can see how you're changing lives in a place that can feel very remote to us every single day, right? It can feel very far away. And we often try to use technology to, narrow the gap and bring the stories and the people closer to each other, bring the donors and the communities they're impacting as close to each other as possible.
Is it okay if I use a term like branding? I mean, you're branding and I just think that that's very underutilized and undervalued, overlooked by a lot of nonprofits. And charities alike. We've had the good fortune of meeting some folks that have absolutely hit it out of the park with certain things like recurring donation campaigns and capital campaigns. And whenever the effort was branded, and in your case, like I said, I'm using that moniker loosely, but I know you get it, obviously. The branding of that community and that impact and sharing that story and using technology to make that place that's such a world away, and to give folks the look, the window into that impact. Speak about that and how important that is for the smallest nonprofit and the biggest nonprofits, as far as that opportunity.
I think it's incredibly important, especially for those of us who are working with communities that feel very remote to the donors every single day. We want to be able to bring their stories. And so whether it's like working with a local storyteller, like that's one way we can bring it, is we work with local storytellers who can live the experience and then share back the experience. And then we try to translate that in some fashion, either through an impact report or through the community newsletters that we share with our donors, just trying to make sure that we're bringing those as close touch points as possible. But then we also explore in terms of innovation and technology. We're in the process of opening the Experience Lab in Franklin, Tennessee. And in this place, we're going to be bringing stories to people directly. And so we'll have immersive experiences, and we'll have folks who are actually sharing their stories in a way that you can hear from them directly what those stories might be and how clean water, what it means to them every single day. And just those are like all, I think, different ways that we try every day to bring those experiences closer to home. I think that's just the hardest part about everything that many nonprofits are working on, is like, how do you bring that as close to home as possible so people can not just feel the analytic impact. It's one that we obviously want to report the data, but we want to report the human side of the data as well. We don't just want to put numbers on the page and say, this many million people this year received clean water. That can just feel so abstract. It's an important number to share.
Yeah.
But it can feel so abstract. Yeah. It's exactly. But if you tie it to the real stories that are happening on the ground, I think it just has so much more of an impact.
I think so many organizations could take that to heart for sure. And so many do a great job of it, that one-to-one connection like you're talking about. And yes, it is difficult. I'm not, it's what y'all chose to do. It is difficult. We come across a lot of nonprofits where they're serving so many different parts of a community, and it's really difficult to quantify and say that missions message if there's 16 programs they're funding and things like that. But you still have to find a way to make that one-to-one connection at all costs. It's interesting. You said something too about the emotional side of it and how much of an effect that has on folks' health and well-being and their children and their community. And I will say that, without being crass, tying to people's heartstrings will tie to the wallet, and I think that's good. Making people feel that emotion is good and impactful and visceral,
Right, for sure. And we want people to feel a sense of hope in that way, right?
Lovely.
It's really important to be able to feel it through hope for the future and hope of what can be different, right? With even just small steps in that direction. So it's,
You talked about a transparency with giving that was really, really cool. So the way I look at it, you have these investors that are funding day to day. You're still a company. No matter what, you still have to make payroll. We say that all the time. It's very true. If you're a nonprofit, you are a nonprofit. That's a tax designation. You still have to run your nonprofit like a business. You have quite the resume in the business background and in technology with MySpace and AOL and Yahoo, if you don't mind me just naming off a few. But amazing career that you've amassed. And now you're in the nonprofit space. But you said something about just the transparency of giving and the information and 100%. This has been our model the whole time. And you're speaking to making it frictionless, right? It's just easy to give. I can quantify where it's going. Right. I know what I'm being a part of. I know everything else. I know where the other dollars are going, but I know where my dollars are going. And at the end of the day, I say, you don't have to agree and no one has to, but I say donors are consumers at the end of the day. They're investors in your organization and they want to know these things. And making it frictionless 100%. And super easy to give is kind of like a business 101.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I say you're totally right. Like I draw a lot on my experiences from the for-profit world. I bring those every single day, and you're operating in such a different context. And we have so many constraints. Like I can't even imagine some of the startups I've been a part of having the constraints placed on them that nonprofits have. I mean, we really have to be creative and intentional in a way and approach growth in a way that is very different than I think the traditional for-profit community gets to approach it, which is fine. I mean, I think it's a good thing, but drawing on those experiences is super valuable every day, right? Because a conversion rate funnel is a conversion rate funnel, and you're going to try to optimize that conversion rate funnel. Marketing technology, your CRM, these are all things that are common across the industry, and you want to make sure that you're using all the best practices that you can bring to bear in the for-profit world. You can use those equally well inside of a nonprofit space to do fundraising, to do outreach, even in your programmatic efforts, right? Like there's a wealth of stuff that's shared between the two spaces that I think you can draw on.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking a personal question, I mean, what drew you to the opportunity? I'm assuming most of your background is in the for-profit world, and you're the chief technology officer of Charity Water. Now, I like to ask multiple questions at one time, but I also want you to talk about what does the chief technology officer at Charity Water do on a day-to-day and what have you, so folks can glean something from that. But what got you motivated to work in this space with the impact and what have you? Yeah.
Well, I had been throughout. So right out of college, I had gone to work as an internship at a nonprofit, and it taught me very quickly, like what the reality of that would actually look like. I was working for free. Yeah. It was, you were going to be expected to work for free.
You're overworked. Yeah. There was only two of you. Yeah.
Right. All of the things like that. And so I had to make a choice for myself to actually, I needed to pay bills. I didn't come from a place where I could work in a situation like that indefinitely. So I made the switch into for-profit, even though at my heart, I really wanted to do something, right, that I felt like was going to be making an impact. And then throughout my professional career, I would always find these niches of how I could make an impact in wherever I was at that felt like a values aligned way of making an impact, right? And sort of making your progression through there. And then it turns in, and then the for-profit space, I like to say, started coming from the nonprofit space because we saw mission-based startups crop up, and then we saw an explosion of B Corps crop up. And when I was leaving my last role, I was starting to look for B Corps, and then I said to myself, why am I doing this? Why don't I just go back to the nonprofit, like go back to where my heart had started. I'm in a place in my life now where I feel privileged enough to be able to do that, right? And so I said, there must be nonprofits out there. So this will get to the second part.
I want to hear it.
What does a CTO
Absolutely.
do every single day? I said to myself, there must be nonprofits out there that are looking for someone with my kind of experience, right? With high growth startup type experience, like all scaling experience, a lot of needs for data and things like that. There must be some out there. And so I just started looking, and sure enough, there were. I will tell you, my experience was that there were two very different camps of nonprofits. There were those nonprofits that see technology as a cost center.
Yeah. Wow. I wanted you to speak to this. Wow. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were plenty of nonprofits out there that see technology as a cost center. And I knew that wasn't right for me, right? That's not what a CTO typically focuses on. A CTO will typically focus on a team that's part of the revenue equation. And in the nonprofit space, I'm going to include the programmatic component of that as well. Like you want to be involved in being part of how you make an impact every single day. And so I was very specifically looking for nonprofits that were interested in the type of technology leader who would be well-versed in marketing technologies, well-versed in all of the ways that we can digitally connect with consumers. And so I like to say Charity Water in particular, and many nonprofits out there, it's like running a direct-to-consumer business and a SaaS, software as a service, like business at the same time.
Yep.
You're doing it at the same time. Yep. And so if you have done both of those things, you get to combine them in a nonprofit as a CTO leader, and you get to apply all your technical know-how to both of those problems. And on a day-to-day basis, I'm focused on our user experience, our donor experiences, right? I'm focused on building out and improving all of our donor experiences and also driving efficiency and enablement for our internal business teams so that they can be effective. And then ideally building a great environment so that we can make really data-informed decisions. So those would be the 3 lanes that I would really put us in. Primarily is donor experience, really focusing on that. And then the enablement of other teams, be it our programmatic teams or our fundraising teams, whomever they are, making sure they have everything they need to do what they need to do. And then finally bringing the data.
Yeah, lifting them up. I totally get it. I love it. I've never heard anyone use that DTC analogy. I think that's awesome. It's true. It's so true. And there, we'll meet some organizations, so well put. Thank you, Christa, that are still using, legal pads, and we're like, we need to get lost in the data because it's all right there. And like you said, it's just, right. Most folks are looking at it like, oh, it's a hole of expense and a black hole, and we're not willing to invest. And of course, there's a lift of time and things of that nature. But we're constantly just really trying to nudge anyone to listen. You have to have a CRM, okay? Right? Like we really need
you
it.
You do 100%.
Yeah, and,
yes.
And we're coming full circle. It's like we're talking about running your organization like a business. Yeah, so right. I think that's good. I think that's going to resonate with folk. They need to hear that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think if you just look at technology as like a collection of tools or a bucket of tools, you're not seeing it from the system point of view where one area could be influencing another area, right? Like we have to have all of these things humming together and working together in a way that they reinforce each other. And if you're just thinking about technology as a bucket of isolated tools, you don't end up getting, you just won't get your return on an investment in the same way that I think if you think about it from a more systematic standpoint and how you build your technical ecosystem is more important than any individual tool. that you might be choosing.
Yeah, it's just a bummer. It's looked at as a burden in the space so much.
It really is.
Yeah. But I think it rings true. Not nothing crazy or anything. But like my theory is that there's been a really lovely injection of talent of folks like yourself into the space, speaking these truths about technology and connection with the donor and how that's all right. And it lifts up. It's a tide that rises all boats within the organization and oh gosh, it can have such a massive effect on the impact of your mission. And yeah, y'all are living it firsthand. So
yeah. And I think you're right. I do think I know I personally get a lot of people reaching out to me at this point. They ask me the question. They're like, how did you make the transition? Yeah. What happened there? And I almost want to say it's easy. You have to be intentional, but it's easier than you think, right? Like it feels like this large wall you're going to cross. And there's certain elements of it that, yes, you have to leave behind, right? Like you're not going to have the same, we're already constrained, right, by the rules on nonprofits in terms of how much we can allocate to operational needs versus how much we have to allocate to programmatic needs. That's really the main hurdle. At the end of the day, you have to get your head around that. And so as a CTO, there are different decisions that I've made than I would have made in a for-profit context as a result of having that kind of constraint in mind, right? Like you just have to think of yourself like, okay, this picture looks slightly different, right? Like I treat variable costs very differently in this world than I did in a for-profit context. And so I might make different decisions as a result of that, but everything else is the same. Like, I don't think it's this massive chasm that we have to cross. And I do find a lot of people reaching out to me excited about the idea of moving in this direction, which I think is great.
I do too.
I think it all. Yeah.
These things need to be flushed out. These things, taking that plunge, so to speak, that that's what I call it, taking the plunge. It needs to happen. Yeah. It's going to continue to happen. Having these conversations will certainly help. And folks hearing it from you will certainly help. Well, do me a favor. If there is someone listening that wants to reach out, tell folks where they can find you, Christa.
Oh, at Christa.Stelzmuller at charitywater.org or on LinkedIn. I'm easily found on LinkedIn as well.
Let folks know where they can find Charity Water if they want to give or to see a little bit more about the impact and what have you, if you don't mind, please, as well.
At charitywater.org.
Cool.
www.charitywater.org. And we have a lot of information on the website where you can learn we have every project we've ever worked on published on the website today. So you can dive as deep as you would like to dive, or you can read about our founder and his story and why this mission was so important to him.
That's really cool. Yeah, I did my own little deep dive. It is a cool story. I love those origin stories, but I won't give it away. I'll leave folks the permission to do it on their own time. So really, really cool. I'm so thankful to speak to someone that has your prowess and acumen from the for-profit world about running a nonprofit and the technology side. And it's been a real a privilege, a pleasure. And I know folks will get a ton out of it because, like I said, we just need to kind of just flush this out and get folks acting like a real for-profit company when it comes to the data and everything that's at your fingertips and not looking at it as like a sunk cost. So I think that's really, really huge. Yeah. So much other good things too, of course, about just the reality of clean drinking water in the world and what have you. And I'm appreciate you sharing. Really, really cool. Oh, this is also your invitation to come back as well if you like in the future. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, of course.
That's awesome, Christa. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you all next time.